I am terrified that it's going to happen because it happens all the time.
Multi-million rand business.
And believe me, the cops are helpful.
My Rolex was stolen. I could be driving past it every day and not know that that is it.
Cloned car is the term used to describe a car after a criminal has changed its identity illegally. Car cloning is a scam that is growing at an alarming rate all over the world. According to the Insurance Institute of Northern Gauteng, of the 8.5 billion vehicles lost to vehicle-related crimes in South Africa every year, a shocking 3.1 billion of these cars are filtered back into the hands of consumers as cloned vehicles. Have you fallen victim to car cloning? How can you protect yourself from the scam? Is your car even your car? We went to investigate. Diane Evans, a nursing lecturer, came close to losing her car because of car cloning. It all started when Diane's mother phoned her to warn her that the police came to look for the car at home first and were now on their way to her workplace.
I had the car because I'd used the car to go to work. And this one day at work, she phoned me frantically and said to me, the cops are on their way, but do not under any circumstances give them the key. Because they caught her unawares. They just came to the house and they wanted the car. And where's the car? You know, whatever. And she was like, what? And they were just insisting it's a cloned car and they want the car.
Diane was confused. Why did the police think her car was cloned? She wondered if this was crime-related. But it turned out that this was the policeman's personal car, and it shared the same identity as hers.
So I waited for them, and when they got there, I sort of thought, okay, as long as I keep the keys with me, I'm okay. And I wanted to know from them, you know, what is it? So they said, no, they have a car, and according to registration details, they then found that this car exists, the one that I'm driving. And I said, okay, fine. And then they said, can we just go and have a look? And I said, no, we can check, no problem. What is it that you want to check? And I opened the bonnet for them to check. And I remember the look. It was one of them was a color. I'll never forget the look on his face, you know, shock. He looked at the car, he looked at his colleague, and they weren't in uniform. So on that note, let me just be very clear. I'm hoping they were cops. So he looked and he said to this colleague, and he said, like, this thing looks genuine.
It turned out the policeman's car had matching registration details to Diane's. Both cars were identical makes and models. The only difference was the color of the cars. When the policeman tried to register the new car in his name, he realized someone else had a car with the same identity.
When they checked the details, the one I was driving came up. So that is why they came there, because they just assumed that's the cloned one. So when they checked the details, they said to me, like this guy said, that engine number doesn't look tampered with. So this most likely is the genuine one. And then they just left, and that was it. But I mean, I was left thinking, like, if you could look and see that this is not tampered with, how come you didn't notice the one you've got is tampered with? I mean, there must be something that they can see. So, but for me, I was just relieved, because I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what would have happened.
Cloning of a vehicle is where they have stolen your vehicle with the purpose of selling it. In order for me to sell your vehicle legally, I have to change the identity of your vehicle. So I will take a scrap record of a vehicle that has previously been written off, and I will use that record to disguise the identity of the stolen vehicle.
We know a lot of people are corrupt and there's a lot of corruption. So
a friend will tell a friend that works in either a testing station or within the council licensing department or whatever about a vehicle. So then they would duplicate the NATIS.
A car's NATIS is its papers. It stands for National Traffic Information System. It is a vehicle registration certificate which is created when a vehicle is registered at any traffic and licensing department. Every vehicle by law is required to have one. The NATIS document lists your car's two main identification numbers. These are the VIN number and the engine number. The VIN number is a 17-character number located on the dashboard or windshield corner. The engine number is a 10-digit number that is engraved or stamped on the sub-assembly engine. When a criminal clones a car, they forge the number on the engine and the VIN on the dashboard. So these are now the same as another legal car. The car will seem legal until the new owner tries to register it and will then find out the car is cloned. This highly organized scam of cloning a vehicle requires a whole network of role players, from your criminal to your official law enforcement persons. Corruption allows for the strength to continue and grow.
In the process of changing the identity, you could be dealing with a licensing official or a law enforcement officer. Some of them just change the identity and produce false papers, so they haven't gone through a licensing department. We see very high quality false face value documents circulating. Again, if you're an expert and you're looking at a face value document, it's very easy to pick up where there are printing errors or spelling errors or errors within the face value document. So often syndicates are printing false face value documents. Some cases they are getting genuine face value documents through the licensing department. So you've got your hijacker, you've got one or two agents in between, and then you've got the car dealership. And a number of occasions you will find on a car dealership that you drive past on a daily basis, there are stolen, hijacked vehicles on the floor of that dealership, and you have to be very aware.
Insurance gets a car, it's a write-off, an accident, okay? They don't know what to do with the car, so the car goes to the scrapyard, okay? With the papers, because the scrap's going to ask you for the papers because of the engine, okay? They got connections with these guys, they buy the papers over, buy the plates over, you got your VIN number, everything. They then take that information, steal another car or hijack another car, put those information on the car with the VIN numbers, they grind off your engine number, to restamp it, everything, you got a clone car. Third one they can do is, they can hijack a car, steal a car. They can then either take your number plates, whether you live here, Cape Town or Durban, all right? They'll take your number plates and put it on a car for the simple reason for they don't get fines, speeding tickets, but they use that car in commission of a crime.
It goes without saying, if you owned a car with proper registration papers, that car is yours. But with a corrupt licensing department and corrupt second-hand car salesperson, your car's identity can be stolen without it even leaving the garage. The police came there suspecting that whoever sold Diane her car had cloned it, but the evidence did not support that, and they had to explain to her that they were wrong.
Because I wanted to know, I mean, you can't put me through all this and not tell me why. And that's when they just said, no, we have a car, and the registration details led us to this one. So we came here, and yours doesn't look tampered with. So which means the one we have is probably tampered with. And that's what I'm saying. The way they spoke, it didn't sound as if they sort of impounded the car or they stopped the car at a roadblock or whatever. It was basically just they had a car. And from what my mother said, because they spoke to her initially because they went to the house, it was like, I think that is why they felt the one we were driving was not the genuine one. Because it looks like that was a cop car. So there's no ways they imagined that they would have a clone. So I don't know where they get their cars from, but that didn't sound right. But I was just relieved that they didn't take the car.
Cloned and made vehicles are mostly circulated within the second-hand car dealership lots. While buyers must ensure they don't buy a cloned or made car, dealerships have to put many measures and checks in place to ensure they don't buy or sell cloned cars either. We spoke to two reputable dealerships in Johannesburg about the state of cloned and made cars, as well as the measures they go through to ensure that cloned cars don't come onto their lots.
We've had lots of clone cars, so they come here and take pictures of the cars or of the license disc, and then we think obviously they're buying, because you can't discriminate against anybody who's coming to look at a vehicle. And then they go and they clone our vehicles. So that is a big security concern.
A lot of times what we find on the floor is we'll find people walking around. Then the salesperson will go to them and ask them, can I assist you? Then the person says, no, I like this car, I don't need assistance. But in the way that he's taking the pictures of the vehicle on his cell phone, a lot of times I told the salespeople, what you do is you stick with that guy and you tell him, can I help you? You irritate him. Because that is usually the guys that takes photos of the vehicle on the side, the windscreen, the disc, the number plate. It's usually those guys that you need to watch.
We went to reputable car dealership Pro West in Johannesburg and spoke to the administration assistant for Rosa Babuza. She explained that corruption does exist in the motor vehicle industry.
But then there are those who work under the table, who do underhanded things. And you can come there and give them chip and nickel, and they will give you a duplicate. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, because I used to go and stand at the license office all the time. And you standing there and waiting in queues and waiting in lines and sitting there and waiting, and someone can just come and give them something, and you'll say, but what is going on? And then someone else would say to you, whoa, those people are here all the time, they know them, so they just help them.
You trust the police, you trust your insurance company, you trust the car dealership, you trust the licensing department. And as long as they know that the public trusts them, it's then easy for them to fool us, because we just don't know. You don't know where the problems are, you don't know where, you won't know where to look to keep yourself sort of safe from such things. So I don't think it's very easy to get rid of it, and I think it is more widespread than we probably think it is.
Despite 3.5 million cloned cars in circulation in South Africa, there is very little public awareness of this crime syndicate. We questioned motor vehicle owners and found that most did not know what cloning is.
Do you know what car cloning is?
Car cloning?
Do you know what a clone car is?
Clone car? Not specific, no.
Innocent people are becoming victims of vehicle fraud at an alarming rate because they may buy cars without knowing that they are cloned and then may be suspected of fraud. There are ways to ensure that your vehicle is not cloned.
You look at your license disc, and at the bottom of your windscreen, the left-hand side, you'll see there's a number printed in the screen. That's your VIN number. If that number doesn't correspond with your license disc number on the VIN, then you set with a problem. It's already a big no-no, right? If it matches, your next step is open the bonnet, look at the disc plate in the front. If the VIN number matches the one on the windscreen or the license disc. If you're not happy with that and you look like it's tampered, you go to your door side, there's another tag there, which you can check. The other manufacturers have one under the seat, depending which car you buy. But if any of those tags are tampered with, scratched in any way, stay away from a car.
If you walk into a dealership and you want to check it, I would strongly recommend taking a photo of the disc. First of all, if that salesman tells you, no, you're not allowed to, you can tell him, listen, I just want to take a photo. It's Volkswagen. I'm going to phone the nearest dealership here. I'm going to give them the VIN and the engine number. I just want them to check it for me. If he puts up a fight, turn around, walk away. You understand what I'm saying? So, by us, you're welcome to go and take a picture. I'll actually take the picture for you. I'll invite you into my office. I'll put the phone on loudspeaker and we can make that call to whoever dealership or to Volkswagen, BMW or whatever.
Vehicle cloning is common throughout the second-hand car industry, but Willie from Kilikor Motors believes cloning is more of a problem in smaller dealerships.
I would strongly recommend using the bigger guys. Although people think they always get the best deal at the smaller guys, I would always recommend go to the bigger guys because they've been there longer. The reason why they've been there longer is because they haven't had troubles like that and they don't have a reputation of supplying products like that.
Most people are vulnerable because they can't go to the bank, get financing. Then they'll go to a private seller, second-hand dealership that's not reputable. And then they sit with the problem where either the vehicle could be stolen, it could be cloned, but they wouldn't know.
I think that if anybody is buying a second-hand vehicle in South Africa, if you are involved in the purchase of a second-hand vehicle, be aware, research the vehicle that you are purchasing. So if you're looking at a second-hand vehicle and you know that you've looked at 15 different vehicles of that model, of that year, with similar kilometers on the vehicle, you know that that vehicle is going to cost you, for example, 100,000 Rand. If you walk into a dealership and that vehicle is sitting on the dealership floor for 80,000 Rand, ask why.
When buying a car, be wary. You do not want to become a victim to the scam. Do your research and ask yourself, are my identification numbers my numbers? Do they look tampered with? Does my NATIS information correspond with my identification numbers? Make sure you buy from a reputable dealership and get a police clearance done on your vehicle.
Firstly, a second-hand car must come with 2 sets of keys. The original key and your spare key, right? If that is not there, then you must be wary already, something's wrong. Thirdly, it must have the service books with it. Okay, that's a must. Okay, because all the information is there. If it doesn't have that, then it highlights already.
The public need to be brave. They need to speak up. They need to demand what is rightfully theirs. And even though that vehicle that is now being taken away from them as a stolen vehicle is not rightfully theirs, what is the law. They should not be bribed. In a transaction of corruption, there's always 2 parties. So if the police official is taking your vehicle and you know that he has sold that vehicle, report it. I know it's an intimidating process to report corruption within law enforcement, but report it. We have an anonymous tip-off line. It's on our website. You can pick up the phone. You can raise the tip-off on an anonymous basis, and we will then investigate that tip-off. If you see it, report it.
It is shocking that 3.5 billion rands worth of stolen vehicles are cloned every year in South Africa. And this is not a problem for the wealthy, who can afford to buy new cars. It's ordinary people, the ones who buy second-hand cars, and they don't even know how common it is to come across a cloned car at a second-hand dealership or a private sale. Government should be protecting us from the cloned car crime syndicates, but it's not happening. We can learn as much as possible on how to avoid buying a cloned car, but even then, your car can be cloned while it's sitting in the garage. It's time for government to do something about the corruption in our licensing and traffic departments. Until then, know how they clone your car and know how to protect yourself from it, so you don't have to ask, is your car even your car?